Hey everybody, my name is Spencer Hogan and I'm the Director of Young Professionals at Work on Purpose. Joining me here today, we actually have my mother, Barbara Hogan. Mom is the CEO and president of Timbelow Inc., which is a strategic advisory firm, but I'll let her share about that here in a second. And she is here today to talk with us about leading, specifically how do you communicate with people who you are totally, completely different from. And so if you're tuning in today, we just want to say thanks for watching our video. This is our first series of interviews that we're doing with some local leaders. We're calling them YP Lead videos. And so again, thanks for being here. Mom, thank you for being here today too. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. This is exciting. Very exciting to be a part of this and talk to your people.
So tell me, so let's start our conversation here then. So what's a strategic advisory firm? What's your role with the organization and why did you start it?
Yeah, okay. Well, started Timbelow in 2016, more to be a sister organization to another company that I'm a partner in. And in 2017, I launched that successfully and then sold that part of that organization, part of Timbelow, to the sister organization. So in March of 2018, I decided I really enjoyed the consulting part of the business and wanted to continue that. And so basically, I'm the founder of Timbelow, but I'm also the CEO and president of Timbelow Inc. And at Timbelow, we create atmospheres that empower transformation. And we do that through the three C's, consulting, coaching, and cohorts.
So tell me a bit about your story. So, of course I know about it, obviously, but tell me a bit about your childhood and then how you got to where you are now.
A few years ago, I had the honor of speaking to some King's High School seniors that were considering going into trade school, going into Sinclair, or going to university. And I asked them, what do you think will be the biggest inhibitor to your dreams? And the normal things came up like time, finances, etc. I introduced this idea of what if it's yourself? What if it's me? The lies you believe about yourself. And then we kind of explored that together. And one of the things I told them was when I was younger, I wasn't expected that I would go to college. I mean, I didn't expect it. My family wasn't expecting it. I did well in school, but just wasn't brought up that way. But my teen group went, and so I went, basically. And I ended up graduating with 2 degrees, psychology and social justice. And at that time, I even said out loud, I would never want to own my own business. I own 2, so never say never. And from there, I had gotten into GE and found out I could work with people. I really loved being in business, just the challenge of it, but then being able to also work with people. So I continued on to that, worked at P&G as a project coordinator, project manager, and then met your dad. And we ended up getting married, and I became a stay-at-home mom. And then as you guys were growing up, around 2010, I went back to work as a partner in the company we launched in 2010. That was a Fidance. It's an IT consulting company, an award-winning IT consulting company. And from there, when you're a business owner of a small company, you do everything. You order toilet paper, you do the recruiting, you do sales, and you deliver. And so after a few years, I started to understand in the community I was seen as a leader, but I didn't see myself that way. So then I started really thinking about who I was, what I was doing, where I wanted to go, and started to embrace that. And then Timbelow came about, and since then I'm on different boards. I completed my MBA last year. I've gotten my certification from Harvard as a master negotiator, and I'm loving what I'm doing.
Master negotiator.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
You need it with my kids, if you knew them.
2 things really struck me with what you shared. So number one is you talked earlier about lies that you believed about yourself, right? And then you also talked about You didn't see yourself as a leader, I think it's the way that you put it. What do you mean you didn't see yourself as a leader?
Well, the leadership is such a word you hear so often today, and there's a lot of training, teaching around it. We spend a lot more time teaching the younger generation that you're leaders, but that's not the generation I grew up in. It was more like your leader was the top, and then you were the person that got stuff done. But as I started to be out in the community for our business, then I started to realize that people saw me as a leader. And so then it made me step back and just say, well, am I a leader? And I thought, well, yeah, I guess I am. I just hadn't thought in those terms. But once I embraced it and started thinking, this is who I am, again, back to the whole idea of what you believe about yourself matters so much, right.
So that right there, I work with young people all the time. In the past year, I've probably met with almost 600 different young professionals, and I hear the phrase "I'm not a leader" probably one out of every 2 or 3 young people. I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. And what's crazy to me is that leadership is just influence, right? And I didn't make that up. That's coming from people way smarter than I am. Leadership is just influence, and so everybody's leading if you're influencing, right? By extension of that. Yeah. And so when I hear someone say, I am not a leader, or what I actually hear them saying is, I can't do that, right? Right. It's not actually, I'm not a leader, it's, I'm not capable, I can't do this. That's what they're communicating to me. So it sounds like, so that kind of feeds into the first thing I shared, that I pointed out, lies, right? What are some of the lies that people believe about themselves? And you don't even have to just think young people. What is the biggest lie that you see people tell about themselves or say to themselves in your coaching practice?
There's a couple, but I'm not worthy. That's a big one. I don't have what it takes. And I'm alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're saying people believe the lie that they're lonely.
They are alone. There's a difference, but yeah.
What is that difference?
Well, lonely, you can feel like I don't have anybody, but if you believe you're alone, then you're it. Who's taking care of you? Who's watching out for you? And as the organization you're coming from, assuming this audience is mainly Christian, I'm a Christian, a believer. And when you really embrace the whole idea that you have a God who is very present, so a couple years ago, I like to have conversations with the Lord, and I was asking him some questions about what I was doing, and he said, "What do you think what does a great day for you look like?" And I thought, well, that must be the Lord, because I don't know where that question came from, and I started thinking, well, a great day for me would be I get these things done and connect with people, and at the end of the day, I feel good about it, right? And he said, what do you think a great day for me is? I was like, He said, I don't know. What's a great day for you? And he said, when we do it together. And even now it just brings up some emotion in me, because it's just like, wow, now wait a minute, God. Are you telling me if I don't accomplish anything, if I don't do these things, if I'm not blah, 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 whatever those expectations are going around in people's heads, that you had a great day if we just did it together? And he was like, yeah, we do things together. It's like we get on in this feeling that, okay, I got to figure it out, and then I got to do it, and I got to make these things happen. And then God will be like, nice job. Okay, stamp of approval, way to go. Or it's like, oh, I've got to be so humble that I'm nothing, and God has to do everything. And so, okay, what do you want me to do, God? How do you want me to dress? How do you want me to brush my teeth? What makeup should I wear? Whatever. And God's like, how about if we do it together?
How do you actually walk with the Lord when you're supposed to be totally engaged with your meeting, or you're supposed to be completely engaged with your boss, or you've got a crazy day ahead of you? It's Q4, at the end of the year, you got sales calls to make, deadlines to meet. How do you walk with the Lord when your mind is supposed to be engaged with something else?
I didn't grow up having a lot of common sense, okay? When I was younger, it just wasn't in my family. It was very chaotic. So wisdom was not something that was normal for me. So I started praying for wisdom, James 1:5. And what I found was if I go into a meeting, and a lot of times as I was starting out working, I was always in meetings where people were much more qualified than I was. And I could have sat there and thought, and I did, I have nothing to offer here. These people are whatever, and I'm in this meeting with them. In Proverbs 2, it says to seek wisdom as you would treasure, as you would silver, as you would money. As we go after money, go after wisdom. And then Proverbs 2:7, it says he has wisdom stored up for the upright, and I'm his upright. Then he has wisdom for me. So as I was sitting in these meetings and I would be listening and be like, I don't have any idea what they're talking about. So I could sit there, be quiet, discount myself, or I could just be quietly talking to the Lord while these things, I'm listening, paying attention, but like, what do you think about that, God? What's your wisdom on that? And then bam, it would just like drop into my mind, and people would be like, wow, where did that come from? I'm like, I don't know. It's a God. I wouldn't say that,
And
but
that does not happen, right? If you're telling yourself, why am I here?
exactly.
I shouldn't be in the room.
Or I'm
right?
alone.
Or
there's nobody has my
I'm
back.
alone. Right. I'm alone, or I'm not qualified. Like most of our people express that they have imposter syndrome. If you know, you know, right? Of why am I here? How did I get this job? I'm a fluke, right? Like I'm just a kid.
Yep.
Like, man, like that doesn't happen though. Like you don't walk with the Lord at work if you've already convinced yourself that, oh, I'm just a kid, or oh, I am alone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to say it, and I want to say that to this audience as well. Don't discount yourself because of your youth or what you don't know, because God brought you to this time, this place for a reason. It could be very small, but it could be like one of the pebble that drops in and causes the ripples. You don't know, but just trust that he has you there and use humility, but you want to show up. You want to show up. God wants you to show up, and he's right here, like he's right here beside you. And if you're doing this, I can't hear, who am I? I'm nothing, then you can't hear him, right? Just take the finger out of your ear and just listen for him. And you'll find that he's bringing those ideas and thoughts around. It won't be every time, but there's a purpose for you.
Yeah. I just want to add to that too and say, hey, if you are a young person in your 20s or early 30s and you feel totally alone at work, or you feel like your Sunday scaries are your Saturday scaries now, right? You're stressed the whole weekend about Monday morning, right? Like, I just want to say this to you. You're not alone. In fact, I'd say most young people are there. And in fact, if you're there, I just want to say this right now. Feel free to text us. We have a number. It's 855-858-6030. Text us. Tell us you're struggling. Tell us you need help. We do coaching calls over the phone. We'll arrange meetings with you on Zoom. We'll connect with you over lunch, dinner, coffee, whatever it is, but that's literally part of what we do. And so if you're there, if you're struggling, text us, call us. Don't work alone. Let me move our conversation in this direction for a bit. So you've shared some really insightful things, and I think it kind of centers around the idea of when you believe when you believe in lives, it almost doesn't allow the Lord to work through you, and it prevents you from walking with the Lord, right? So our main topic today of how do you communicate with people you're completely different from. I'm wondering how the lies that we believe about ourselves affect the people around us, right? And so let me ask you this.
Good point.
How do you communicate with somebody that believes something totally different from you? Not a Christian, number one. Number two, I don't want to go too deep into this. Let's say they're the polar opposite person of you. So pretty stoic, cold, angry, pessimistic, right? Glass is half empty at all times. How do you talk and communicate with somebody that is like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The last few years I've spent most of my time working on this. It's something that I needed to understand, so I've spent a lot of time getting training, thinking, working on these things. So when you talk about somebody being opposite, stoic, pessimistic, glass half full, or that person talking about the other side of that, of always happy, never a problem, never serious, a silly heart, you know what I mean, whatever. you could go both directions. So communication is difficult enough when you add all the extras on it, okay? The lies you believe about yourself or your upbringing, okay? So what I like to do is I like to bring communication down to a simpler form. So a tool I'll use is DISC, okay? So a lot of people are like, DISC, it's so basic or whatever. You know, they're like, I like Myers-Briggs or I like the Enneagram. So do I. But you need to understand, if you're going to use a tool, this is just a simple, helpful tool to use, is the DISC is a communication style assessment, not a personality or a behavior assessment. It's a communication style. And what that means is, how do you like to just by yourself, how do you like to communicate, okay? And so a lot of times we get so caught up in these other things, then we start taking them personally. If we can kind of peel away some of that stuff and we go back to what's their basic personality style. And so for example, let's take somebody, there's 4 communication styles. One is an investigator, one's an achiever, okay? You're an achiever, right? And your dad is an investigator, right? So if you take those two, there's similarities in some ways and there's opposites in them. So the investigator wants to be able to process. They want to research. They want their data. They're risk adverse. They have to have a lot of data to make a decision, so they'll delay that decision, okay? Now, if you're an achiever, you want to get it done. You see the vision. Let's do this. Here's the plan. Let's implement it and get it done, right? So you put those two personalities together, and you can imagine right away, one may seem stoic. One may even seem, if you're the achiever, the other one may seem like you can't get anything done. I can't get anywhere. And I saw this happen at P&G. They brought in a new manager, and they had a database administrator, and I loved both of them. But the database administrator was constantly saying, we can't. Guess who got moved? The database administrator went somewhere else, right? So what you need all these communication styles, but if you can stop and say, I'm going to be true to who I am, but I need to understand who I'm dealing with, who I'm working with, and how they prefer to communicate. Then if I'm an achiever and I'm going to the investigator, I can go to say to myself, if I show up in a meeting and ask the investigator to make a decision, I'm going to put a lot of stress on them. But if I send them the information prior to the meeting and say, these are my expectations for the meeting, it will help them with having a deadline and what they need to do.
Just because they're different from you doesn't mean they're bad, right? It doesn't
mean it's personal about you.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, doesn't mean it's personal about you. I wonder how many young people really get to know the people around them. Like, how do they really get to know them? Do they? Obviously, we try to care about the people we work with, but I do wonder how much we take the time to do the little things for our coworkers, right? Or our boss, give them a cup of coffee, take work off their plate, right? I think that if you want to work well with somebody different from you, you got to get to know them, right? What do you think of that?
Oh, I think that's really key, getting to know them and what their style is. So when your dad and I launched a Fidance in 2010, I had no understanding of this. And so he's an investigator, I'm not. And so during the day I would have an idea. I would go down to his office and just stop in and sit down and start talking to him about my idea. You can imagine how much stress that caused him. You know, I can see that now, but if I had understood that you need to schedule things with this type of person, you need to have specifics, you need to have data, that all that kind of stuff. Then now I understand that, right? So understanding what he needed was really key. And then vice versa, if you take an investigator and they're managing a persuader type personality, the creative, the visionary, then if you don't give them space, then you're going to be telling them you're not what I need. It's going to be a constant thing. So taking the time to get to know how they communicate, because there's a lot of other things around communication, the personality, the upbringing. Right. The
lies they believe.
Exactly. Right. But if you get to the basics and you understand this person needs time to process, this person needs encouragement, this person is a loyalist, a team player, They're going to be afraid to say what they really think. Then you build an environment where they have trust that they can say what they think. This person's a visionary. They're a creative. They've got to have a sandbox with parameters. And then it comes to a point where it's like they're throwing sand everywhere. There's no boundaries, and it doesn't always work out, But if we can get to those basic understandings, we can have something where they say, that person cares about what I need and want, and I feel a connection with them.
What is one simple thing a young person can do to learn more about another person? What is one simple thing that they can do to unlock a person? Let me ask it that way.
Pick a coworker and find out what their communication style is. So it's not as simple as saying that. I get that. That's why there's a disc. You could take that. It's not very expensive. But find out, pay attention. Are they fast? Are they slow? Like more slow cadence or a fast cadence? If they're a slower cadence, adjust your cadence. If they're fast, know that they're going to come at you with everything if you're the slow cadence. Don't take it personally. I have a client, couldn't be any higher of an achiever. He may not be anything but an achiever, okay?
Type A.
Yes.
Bulldoze ya.
Yes.
Get to the end.
But I also have an achiever personality, and I have some other stuff there as well. And so we work well together, but there's times when he's pushing, I'm like, dude, hold on, okay? But we've worked into respect for each other where I can do that. But at first he had to know that I cared about the deadline. I cared about what he needed to get done.
You care about what is freaking him out or his fear.
Yeah, or where he wants to go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's
It can be that simple. Like if you're an investigator or you're a loyalist or you're a persuader, what are the things that are needed you're looking for? And as soon as you see somebody making that attempt to bridge that gap, they will feel like you care and you matter to them, and they'll create a bond.
I'm taking this off on a tangent here, but I think that your point about the client that you're working with is really insightful. Is they got to know that you care about what they care about, and they have to know that you care about their story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's close here because we're almost out of time here. Let's close here. I want to ask you just a simple question. What is one piece of advice you would offer to any young professional?
I would say believe in yourself and learn how to connect with others.
Wow, that's really powerful. Well said. Hey, thank you so much, Mom, for being here today.
It's fun.
It is fun. It's fun to talk with you on a leadership level. If you tuned in today or you're watching our video, again, I just want to reiterate this. Please feel free to text us. Text us your full name to the number 855-858-6030. We help with job sourcing, career coaching. We give wisdom and counsel. We have a prayer team that actively prays over and with our people. Whatever we can do for you, we want to support you. Young professionals that work on purpose, never work alone. If you're a YPer, never go to work alone. Mom, you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to meet all of you. Call him.